Unfortunately, due to people copyright striking my channel, I had to take a lot of videos down. You can catch each and every one of the videos that I took down, including all my lyrics videos, and there's a few other videos in there too, over on my Patreon. I'm re-uploading the 3-part YBC video series that I had to take down. I'm re-uploading that in 1 part here. If you haven't seen it before, I hope you can appreciate the documentary.
FS just dropped this tape, drop Us Against the World. Keep working. We're gonna really reach the highest limit. We're gonna keep going up and up. Don't worry about all the other bullshit going on. Just keep working, but we're gonna get rich, alright?
For you, YBC with them youngins about chicken. I'm chasing, got finished the mission. He tried to spin his block, we on his top. You know we on spray. We got stuck up at the light. You should have played them always.
Start blicking on the vid and one mirror range train.
Ops capping and they rap, they know I ain't get shot. Niggas talking about this video, I ain't never ran, that was me with the glasses on, banging with 2 hands. I like sipping on wok, I keep spinning that block looking for y'all. Ain't nobody out there, I'm hot. When Gorilla Joe died, all they did was drop a disc.
Left dead on the scene, cause he was dissing for some string.
If Rizzy never crossed the street, they probably never tapped his head.
How accurate are these documentaries on YouTube?
Them Johns false, bro. I don't know. They making money off false stories on YouTube.
2019 saw 353 homicides in the city of Philadelphia. It was high, but in line with the 250 to 350 murders we've seen every year since 2007. Then, in 2020, the murders skyrocketed to 499 in that year. Then 562 murders in 2021. And 516 in 2022. What happened? A lot of people will tell you it's drill rap. 2020, the year in particular, saw a rise in quote-unquote drill rap, where specific names of dead members were being said on tracks. Specific murders were being talked about. Back when I was coming up, people rapped about murders, but it was extremely rare to hear a rapper mention the op's name in a song. People mention their fallen friends all the time, but dissing the dead was unheard of. We all know what it is, and I don't have to explain it here. Names like Poundside Pop, Leaf Ward, Lil Bucks, and One Mirror, OT7 Kwani, Hood Tally, Boodalope, D4M Sloan and Skiano, Hood Famous J, all began to pop around the same time. And here we were faced with this new style of rap that was starting to get popular among the youth. Leaf Ward in particular was making a name for himself with gritty lyrics filled with pain and anger. At his ops, at his city, at his self, all are displayed in the music. But one thing every person I mentioned earlier has in common is they are all involved in beef and drama. They all use their songs to taunt the ops and diss the dead. Leaf Ward's crew, 31st and Tasker, was involved in 2 state indictments, one in 2019 and one in 2021. District Attorney Larry Krasner has mentioned several gangs that he says is on his radar. All of this is intertwined somehow, and everyone is sucked into this false street life that promises loyalty and respect. But in the end, all you get is death and jail, drugs and pain. My young brothers have been lied to and led astray, but are convinced it's the only way. But if you look at the homicide numbers, and if you come to the conclusion that drill rap is the main culprit, you are missing or intentionally ignoring context. YBC is a group in West Philadelphia that has been involved in a violent, brutal, and bloody war that has had residents terrified. Their main rapper, YBC Duel, has taken drill music and used it as the main way to antagonize his ops. He's taken going federal to a whole nother level. He's given it a new meaning. Every single person I'm going to talk about in this video has been mentioned by a rapper online. In this documentary, we will look at 13 lives lost in the last 3 to 4 years due to YBC and his beef with the surrounding blocks. We are also going to see how we got here and how it started. A man between the ages of 23 and 25 years old wearing blue shorts and a white tank top parked a gold Dodge Ram pickup on the corner of 42nd Street and Mantua Avenue in West Philadelphia, just around the corner from YBC Josh, or Joshua Munson. Police say the man exited the truck and jogged to Wyalusing Avenue, where they say the man ran back to the truck immediately following the shooting and drove westbound on Mantua Avenue. Joshua Munson was shot on that Wednesday afternoon, May 29, 2019, at 1:40 p.m. Philadelphia police officers responded to the 4200 block of Wyalusing Avenue and found Joshua on the sidewalk, suffering from several gunshot wounds. Police transported Joshua to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where he was placed in critical condition. He will hold on for 2 days, but unfortunately, Joshua died from his injuries on May 31st, 2019. Josh lived near 42nd and Mantua Ave in West Philly, right where he was killed. Like many sets in Philly, YBC, or Josh World, was formed after the death of a young man, in this case, Josh. YBC started as friends that went to school together and lived in the same neighborhood. YBC members mostly come from 42nd and 43rd Streets in Mantua. They would get in fights and always stick up for each other. Spilling blood and sweat with your friends creates a closer bond. That bond is made even closer when one of those friends is killed and someone from the crew is willing to seek revenge. Once a murder happens, you and the guys are tied in by blood for real, and that makes the bond even stronger. That's how most sets, blocks, or gangs are formed. I don't care what people call them, they're describing the same concept. It can't be overstated how dumb and misleading the streets are. Everything I'm about to break down in this story was avoidable. None of it had to happen. But once one person is killed, oftentimes in the hood, it's always street justice that follows. Relying on the cops to carry out America's justice doesn't work on the streets. They want blood and revenge. And that's how these oftentimes small conflicts explode into years-long gang wars that span years and see countless people die and go to jail. This is one of the more exaggerated examples because of how many people were killed and arrested and how public the rappers made all of the drama, all in the span of the last 4 years. "2020 is when YBC really started to formalize themselves as a set. The rappers, J100 and Lil Dre, held it down for the guys on the rapping tip. Others did the shooting and the street side. A 19-year-old man named Nafiq Hawkins, or Buddy, from Callow Hill near 62nd and Vine, was fatally shot on a crowded basketball court on a Monday afternoon in March of 2020 in the Mantua section of West Philly. At about 5:10 p.m., the man was shot several times in the torso and legs on a court at 39th and Olive Playground next to the 700 block of Union Street, said Chief Inspector Scott Small. Police, responding to the scene, transported him to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead at 5:22. Small said at least 13 spent shell casings were found on the court next to the body. There were about 30 people still on and around the court when police arrived, but no one could or would provide a description of the one or more shooters, Small said. The attack happened during what appeared to be a pickup game, but it was unclear whether Buddy had been playing or was a spectator. Police checked nearby surveillance cameras for video evidence. No arrests were made. Buddy is one of the most heavily dissed people by YBC.
I just sold a pound of the Buddy in foreplay. I've been smoking Buddy out the pound all day. Buddy got cooked, they hit him up with all boulders. Snakes got rolling Buddy out the sack. He hit hard, he tryna fight. I'm smoking Buddy out the motherfucking pound, he hit right. So, little Buddy hit hard, that shit right for my health.
What exactly the beef was between Bud and YBC is not known at this time, but what I do know is that added another block that YBC now has beef with. Two members of YBC orchestrated a violent incident during a cookout held at the park on 38th and Poplar Streets. While people gathered at the small park, shots rang out, turning a joyful day into a scene of chaos. The bullets found their targets, causing devastating injuries. Sid, a beloved member of the community, was struck in the back, his life hung by a thread. But he would survive this time. An older guy, whose name I'm going to withhold, a respected elder on 39th Street, witnessed the horrific event unfold. To his dismay, he realized that he knew the person responsible for the bloodshed. Old Head had known the shooters from YBC, one in particular since he was a child, having watched him grow up right on their block before he relocated across the bridge to 42nd Street. The shooter approached the old head and assured him that the attack was not meant for him or his family. This revelation left OG torn. While he had a history with the shooter and cared for him, the rest of the 39th Street residents were outraged. The block, including the old head himself, distanced themselves from the shooter for a while, struggling to reconcile the conflicting emotions. However, over time, they gradually accepted the old head's decision to maintain some level of friendship with the shooter, despite the despicable act he committed. Meanwhile, the shooter, seemingly unburdened by his actions and driven by a young boy mentality, brazenly took a picture a few weeks after the park shooting on 39th Street. It was a perfect display of his lack of remorse. As tensions continued to escalate, Sid and another guy from 39th Street exacted their own form of justice. Sid claimed responsibility for delivering the final shots to a wounded individual known as BL or Skill in September of 2020. Police say 21-year-old BL from 43rd Street was shot multiple times in the head and killed in Philadelphia's Belmont neighborhood. It happened on the 900 block of Belmont Avenue around 9:30 p.m. BL was apparently on a bike when the shooters hopped out of the car. Police say the victim, BL, was shot multiple times in the head and was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators say the gunman fired 15 shots at the victim near his house.
Mixing Kira and Narilla with the BL and the BK. I don't smoke that's like Xing with a red jack. Shout out my dog, Big 39, stand doing business. This and Q-Raw, he making the bad decision. Old boy thought he had a shot, it was a no dagger. 3 bands on a go find, I guess he don't matter.
Sid decided to lay low in Utah for about a month. He had relatives in the area, providing him with a safe haven. However, upon his return to Philadelphia, Sid's freedom was short-lived as he found himself behind bars. Curry, who we'll be talking about later, and Lil Moo were very good friends growing up. They both stood by 42nd and 43rd Street as the beef with 38th and 39th Street was splitting up the neighborhood. Sid, still feeling like he had beef with YBC, kept going hard for 39th Street. Lil Moo ended up getting shot in his leg by Sid. Sid was becoming a problem for YBC. Sid, or Big 39, had a very close relationship with the Mont. The Mont is another group of guys who come from 44th and 45th, right next to Belmont Avenue. They had a close relationship with Sid, and 39th Street and the Mont would become alliances because of this beef. As the story unfolded, the sense of danger and intrigue grew. The once tight-knit community found itself fractured by violence and complicated loyalties. What would become an old head in his association with the shooter? How would Sid and 39th Street battles impact the future of YBC? Only time will reveal the answers as the gritty world they inhabited continued to spin its dark web of secrets and treachery.
Yeah, we got Kai 2 times.
G100, how you get free Vaughn too? Free 9. Free the whole game. Free the army.
LC, do man.
Let's take it back. So when dude copped out, said approached him with 2 strands. Said he ain't in the beef, he was never a part of that.
For 7 days of the week, I can smoke a different day.
Yo, that's
You know what I'm
crazy.
saying?
That's crazy.
8 days. I'm gonna go back on
That's
Sunday.
crazy.
When the 7 days over, the next Monday I'm gonna smoke another name, the 8th one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's crazy.
if we don't talk about innocent victims, we don't count other bodies. There's other bodies too. We only talk about the war.
YBC, a Young Bag Chasers, was created in 2017 in West Philly. When they first started, it was mainly just J100, Heem, Duel, Lil Dre, Lil Trey, Baby Kai, Ra Ra, Zombie, Nah, Vaughn, Josh, and Joe, among many others. It was a lot of them. They rapped and got money trapping, living up to their name, which was to chase a bag. Zombie and Eem Stacks, both YBC members, are brothers. They went to Mastery Charter with Josh, who we spoke about briefly in part 1. YBC Duel and Die Fetty are cousins. Along with J100, they were the get money part of the team. As we spoke on the events of 2019 and 2020, 2021 was going to be YBC's reign of terror on the city of Philadelphia. They had taken credit for at least 8 murders and 1 kid being shot from January 2021 to September, when 30, or Curry, was arrested at the scene of a murder. Numerous other shootings and fights where no one had life-changing injuries occurred also as a result of this beef. After Sid was shot throughout 2020, he would continue to give YBC trouble. He was involved in the killing of Skill, as we said earlier, and he was known to shoot at or beat up YBC members whenever he would see them.
They hit Q Rizzy with that Swizzy. Let's meet you, bro. Hit Q Rizzy with that Swizzy. Go meet you, bro.
In January of 2021, police released surveillance images of 2 men wanted for murdering a 15-year-old boy in West Philly. Video shows Jaquan Williams, a Q Raw, walking in the area of 40th and Cambridge Streets when he was struck in the head by gunfire from 2 suspects. Q Raw was loved by 39th Street and Lamont. YBC/YFA would go on to claim this wreck and disrespect the deceased 15-year-old Moore by mentioning him by the wrong name and calling him Q Rizzy instead of Q Raw, and saying they were smoking on Q Rizzy.
We gon' blame the true for the past, another dead bitch, watch him out. We them youngers that hop out and stand on beds. Get that drop cause he was thinking with his dick, that's what it is. We get over, know they mad cause what's the name got put to bed.
They shot Q Rizzy from a block away and still pop his pump. That boy green.
Bro, keep rolling dead, ops, you try to stop the punt. Pro Rizzy trolley in the air, the shit be numbing again.
If Rizzy never crossed the street, they probably never tapped his head.
Up until this point, we haven't talked about YFA. YFA, led by F5, was a group of straight crash outs. People like F5, Reek 1200, FS the Bender, Baby Wick, Kier, Eem Stacks, and 30 all claimed YFA. If you pay real close attention to Reek and F5, they only diss certain dead people. There is a distinction between YBC and YFA, but not much of a difference. So to keep it simple, I just call everyone involved with YBC and YFA, YBC. Mind you, F5, Reek, Baby 1K, Baby Wick, and 30 are all down, facing bodies at the moment. This really was a gang of crash outs, as I said before. In fact, there's a rumor that in order to join YFA, F5 said you had to catch a body. This would explain why the young boys were so bloodthirsty before they all crashed out.
sniper runner. Hold up, wait, I got him, let me chase him down. You ain't got a body, you can't roll with us.
At this point in the story, we talked about YBC, Demont, and 38th Street, and the deaths of Josh, Bud, and BL. We talked about Sid getting shot at the playground and how he claimed he had parts in the killing of BL. Sid, as I mentioned before, was a beloved member at 39th Street. He had ties to Demont. After Q Raw was killed, it really started to get ugly. 2021 would be a wild year for YBC. 2021 and 2022 would be wild years for YBC as the name recognition would skyrocket as they dissed more and more and got more and more disrespectful. YBC Duel, F5, Reek 1200, and of course J100 were carrying it for YBC as far as the music went, basically all of 2021 and 2022. YBC would systematically hunt for Sid almost weekly. They really want to get back for BL. Sid ended up getting arrested around the fall of 2020. In March of 2021, YBC thought they had their target locked in. A CO up at State Road gave YBC false intel as they said Sid would be getting released on Thursday, March 18th, 2021. At around 12 in the morning, Rodney Hargrove Sr. got a call from his son saying he was released and ready to be picked up. 20-year-old Rodney Hargrove Jr. was driven by prison staff from the complex to across the street, a designated drop-off point. YBC and their faulty intel went up to the complex and shot Hargrove, mistaking him for Sid. The news of the innocent man, Hargrove, being killed only made YBC's hunt for Sid stronger, but of course, they would have to wait for Sid to be released. Eventually, Sid was granted house arrest in April, and YBC wasted no time getting with him. As in May of 2021, they chased him down the street shooting at him and ended up striking his 6-year-old sister. His parents would take Sid and the family and move all the way across the city to Port Richmond. However, YBC refused to relent, continually attempting to discover his location or setting him up for another attack.
Becoming an all too familiar trend. This is Eyewitness News at 6, and we are streaming live on CBSN Philly. Hello, everyone. I'm Yuki Washington.
And I'm Jessica Cartalia. A 6-year-old girl is hospitalized after being shot in West Philadelphia. It happened this afternoon on Wyalusing Avenue, and we're told the girl was outside playing with her friends when a group of men ran up and opened fire. She was shot in her leg. The girl's parents were in a car, which was also hit by bullets.
It's disgusting, yet again, that I'm here speaking to you about a 6-year-old getting shot. But what's also very striking to me is that the 6-year-old had the wherewithal to tell her parents that she had been shot. How does a 6-year-old know what getting shot is like? How does a 6-year-old know what bullets sound like, or what, gunfire sounds like? And how does she know, or how does he or she know what a bullet wound looks like? That is
The 16-year-old boy shot near a Southwest Philadelphia basketball court that Thursday night in May of 2021 was a high school senior just weeks away from graduation. A standout basketball player and something of a role model for younger teens in the neighborhood. That's how several people remembered Kwame Mitchell after he was killed and a 13-year-old boy was wounded in a burst of gunfire near the Derridus playground, a crime that police said remains something of a mystery in the early stages of the investigation. Q5, despite his age and ambiguous involvement in this beef, wasn't spared being dissed in his death.
Sherwood wish they could get their favorite athlete back. We done bit the whole fucking West, we looking for the ops. Q5 or K3 can't make no more jump shots.
As you can probably tell by now, YBC and their ops don't care about the safety of anyone, whether they are involved or not. It's one thing to say I signed up for the streets and know what comes with it. It's already bad enough that they're killing each other. But to now involve seemingly innocent people is sickening. I give a lot more of my opinion on my other channel, so I'm just going to try and keep the commentary to a minimum here. To be completely honest, I don't know who was responsible for Q5's murder. But YBC dissed him a lot after they found out his relationship with Caitlin Johnson, or KJ, who we will speak about in a little bit. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know. While the war between YBC and 39th Street and Lamont was raging, the young boy Lil Mir from 64th Street was shot and killed in March of 2021. Some 39th Street members were cool with Lil Mir, so that's how and why O to the 4, Lil Bucks, and YBC started beefing. This continued with shots back and forth on social media and O to the 4 members shooting at YBC on 3 separate incidents in 2021. Even though YBC didn't kill Lil Mir, they still dissed him in songs, and the beef was on and popping.
Get back for Lil Mir, he caught a neck shot.
These neck shots make a nigga bleed, make a nigga can't wait till.
The family of 18-year-old Nasir Marks says they were looking forward to watching him walk at his high school graduation at the Dell Music Center in Fairmount Park in a matter of weeks at the time. But with him now gone, his family won't get to do that. Nasir's family had been preparing for a graduation party, but the 18-year-old was shot multiple times on the 3900 block of Poplar Street in West Philadelphia at around 7:30, May 25th, 2021, and later died. His family was making his graduation shirts when they got the phone call. Nasir was a senior at Overbrook High School. He was also set to attend Kutztown University. A half hour later, just before 8 p.m., YBC killed a 15-year-old boy on the 2500 block of Sydenham Street in North Philadelphia. Based on ballistic evidence, we know at least 32 shots were fired from 2 separate caliber semi-automatic weapons, Philadelphia Police Chief Inspector Scott Small said. The victim was identified as 15-year-old Kanye Pittman. He was a freshman at Benjamin Franklin High School. He was shot multiple times. He was shot in the head, the neck, the chest, the torso, and the arms. He was unresponsive and he was bleeding heavily. Due to the fact that this 15-year-old was hit so many times, at least 5 times by gunfire, and the fact that he's the only victim, we believe he may be the intended target, Small said. Kanye Pittman, another kid, was caught up in this beef somehow. YBC will go on to diss him heavily, giving him the disrespectful name of Young Boy from the Back Block. Reek was so proud of himself about the fact that he killed 2 people in one day, he had to bring it up in the song.
Don't get it twisted, bitch, I still pop right out that cut, he out of luck. Caught his ass up on that side, he should've ducked. We spin back to back, bodies in one day, they know what's up, we get it done. Get that drop and drop his ass, this shit for fun, let's end.
It's definitely a tragedy anytime someone is shot and killed in the city, but in this particular evening, we've had an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old killed within a half-hour time frame. Clearly 2 separate shootings.
That's the thing about YBC. I was able to make this whole documentary based off their own lyrics. Of course, I had to do a lot of research to find out who these people are, but YBC's own lyrics gave me a starting point. There's no positive outcome in getting involved with beef like this. Once you've disrespected someone's dead friend or relative on video and put it out as art or music, I think by now, people know what comes behind that. That's why I say, dissing the dead, you might as well put a big sign on your head saying, "Come kill me." That's essentially what you're doing when you diss the dead. To be fair to the 15 and 16-year-olds caught up in this, a lot of the time, it's peer pressure that would put a kid in this kind of deadly situation in the first place. The older ones, like J100 and YBC Duel, are the main culprits and blamed in this particular situation. Just a few weeks before he died, KJ Johnson got his driver's license. His mom wanted to congratulate him on his great grades so far in high school, his accomplishments on the basketball and football court, and just being an all-around standout young man. On the fatal day of his death, he picked up a couple of friends, including his day one homie, Tommy Frazier, or Snipe, and headed to play basketball on a Wednesday, a sunny afternoon in West Philly. It was July 21st, 2021. Kalen Jihad Johnson was heading into his junior years at Boys Latin Charter School in West Philadelphia, while Frazier had enrolled at Simon Gratz High School in November. 2 0 to the 4 members were also in the car on the day of the shooting, with one of them getting hit. Snipe was from 56th Street, the same block Young Liv claims. Apparently, a phone call by YBC to 56th Street members was made to try and squash this before it turned uglier than it already was. But those attempts at a truce were ignored. Young Liv and Lil Bucks were tied in now. Bucks and Livy really didn't like each other at first. They were two hothead rappers from West Philly who both had a buzz and who both led their respective camps. Now things would really start to get crazy for YBC, as now, along with 39th Street and 44th and 45th Streets, the Mont, now they had beef with a lot more people, more ways to get set up, backdoored, or caught with your head down. 0 to the 4 and 56th Street were as serious a threat as they were going to face at this point in time. They were just as relentless and had their own group of crash dummies. The campers, 0 to the 4, and the clappers, 56th Street, would click up with the other clappers from 7th Street down in South Philly, and they would be known as CCK.
He said there was 4 different niggas in that wood. He said 2 of them died in 2.
You got stuck up at the light, you should've played them hallways. We just caught another victim, ask me how I do it.
Wait till I catch Livy. Big shots from the glizzy, spinny, make that nigga dizzy. I'ma shoot it till it's in.
You try snipe, when you could go up, then me time me. How about that like that Millie jump all on his body?
Y'all knew y'all was getting followed, why the fuck y'all niggas stop? They scored on K3, they hit him for the shot clock.
3 was at the light hand dog.
I don't even want the chain when I catch him, I want his dreads. I was Snipe, smoking Snipe, dog rolling buddy out the state. Smoking little Snake, he got me higher than a motherfucking kite. I thought you niggas knew better than I get caught up at the light.
In that vid flexing, proceed with caution if you step in my direction. You hung with the campers, so we had to send a message. Threw a pass at us and we had to intercept.
Sniper runner, hold up, wait, I got him, let me chase him down. He ain't see it coming, they twitching on that.
39th Street is also clicked up with 44th Street due to the young boy Q Raw being shot and killed by a YBC member a few months before KJ and Snipe were shot. Also, the connection with Sid I mentioned earlier. So you now have all these click-ups between these blocks going back and forth. Speaking of Sid, YBC would finally catch up to him in September of 2021 when 30 was arrested on the scene after shooting and killing Sid. Sid was in the house on house arrest when YBC got the drop on where he lived. 30 would sneak up on his porch with another shooter and unload into the front door, killing Sid. His father was also shot, but luckily he survived. As 30 and either F5 or YBC Kier, one of the two, ran away, the cops appeared and 30 started firing at the cops. All of the shots missed. 30 was arrested at the scene. He was found lying under a car. The Sessoms family, another family, was left to pick up the pieces from this war that is traumatizing from the city.
They wanna know the best strain, bro, the best pain.
Most getting the back screen froze. 3 was at the light.
I just sold a pound of the fro off one play.
Accuracy, he was walking away and had to get a drop.
The Sessoms family, another family, was left to pick up the pieces from this war that is traumatizing the city and showing the ugly forces of the criminal underworld. Old head from part 1 and Sid's original shooter never recovered after this. At this point in the story, 39th Street and YBC were officially sworn enemies. The Mont and YBC were officially sworn enemies. 56th Street, along with 0 to the 4 and YBC, were officially sworn enemies. And there are other beefs YBC is involved in that we didn't touch on in this story, like their beef with 59th Street over Bud, or their click up with P&B, which we'll touch on in the next part. When you click up with another set from across town, whether it's to swap guns, to get reinforcements for your shooters, or to get money together, you inherit each other's already established beef. And P&B already had their own situation uptown with Westside Mafia and NLB and others. We will get into all of that in part 3, as well as the 16 people YBC lost to death or jail in 2022 and 2023. All of that in part 3. At this point in the story, September of 2021, as far as YBC was concerned, they are up on all their ops. 2021 saw them drop 7 people from their ops, 1 innocent by mistake, and 1 op's little sister got shot. That's just what I could fit into this video. I never got to mention Rel, Hattie, and Benji getting shot. We didn't mention Duel and One Mayor and both their camps getting into a huge brawl at the Wells Fargo Center during Powerhouse. Yeah, YBC is up right now, but 2022 and 2023 would be a whole different story. October of 2021 would be a preview of what's to come for YBC, as Gorilla Joe, or Joe Rilla, a big YBC member, was killed. The circumstances behind his death are unknown to me at this time, but he died in late September or early October of 2021. Part 3 will see the peak of YBC. You know, all the songs you've heard them for, all the dissing, and the other things they are known for besides the killing really starts to take form. But with all the people they killed, it doesn't take a genius to guess what happens next. Not 1, 2, not 3, but 5 YBC members were killed between May of 2022 when BK was killed, and most recently T.O. getting killed a few months ago. Even on Monday, there was a killing on 52nd and Jefferson related to this beef. Stay tuned for all of that and more in part 3. For now, y'all be safe.
I probably done lost like 19 niggas, bro. No bullshit, bro.
In parts 1 and 2, we got to the bottom of who YBC is and how they became a notorious gang out of West Philly. How they come from mostly 42nd and 43rd near Wyalusing. We talked about their style of disrespectful lyric and recklessness on the streets. We talked about why their disrespectful lyrics and recklessness on the streets helped them gain a reputation. People like YBC Duel, J100, Eam Stacks, and Reek 1200, and F5 gained the group clout from rapping in 2021 and 2022. While people like Reek, F5, 30, Waters, and Wick, and many others gained them clout on the streets. When we left off the story in fall of 2021, YBC had claimed 8 bodies from just that year alone. Going back to part 1, we talked about how this whole beef started, covering the mine and 39th Street and the death of Josh and Skill from YBC. We talked about Bud from Callow Hill. Bud had a big family. He had 8 or 9 brothers and sisters. He had family all over the city, especially in West Philly. Bud had a relationship with Philly rapper Sim Santana. D4M is the little rap group that Sim Santana was a part of. 59th and Master is where most of these guys are from. In part 3, we're going to talk about how and why YBC has lost 20 plus people to death or jail in the last 2 years. CCK is a click-up of blocks from around Philly. You've got Lil Bucks and O to the 4, or the Campers. That's what the first C stands for. The second C in CCK stands for the Clappers. The Clappers are Young Liv and his guys from 56th Street. Coincidentally, there's another group that calls themselves the Clappers, but they spell it with a K. and that's how they got CCK. The clappers are mostly from 7th Street in South Philly. 7th Street was already clicked up with 27th Street in their war with 5th Street and other beefs from around South Philly, like with Tasker. So by default, some of the 27th Street members are linked with CCK, making this a messy mix of members and associates, and a tenuous set of loyalties.
I said, we cooked O to the 4, they made CCK. Niggas cooking up the clean bodies, they ain't got no ring.
But CCK is a definite threat to YBC. O to the 4 were cool with Bud and really didn't like the fact that YBC killed him. The young boys from YBC always had tension with O to the 4 and Lil Bucks, since they all went to the same high school together back in the day. I remember hearing about a fight at the Eagles Super Bowl parade all the way back in 2018. So this goes as far back as that incident at least. There was the fight between O to the 4 and YBC at the Wells Fargo Center. As far as exactly when the beef between O to the 4 and YBC started, I can't give an exact date or incident. Then there's a situation with Smalls. Men, in general, are known to get violent over women. The streets are no different. Beefs start and continue for a slew of different reasons. Women, and in this case, a 17-year-old girl, was also a part of the reason this beef started to sizzle. F5 and Lil Bucks went back and forth over Smalls to the point where they were mentioning her in songs.
5, fuck the op, nigga, bitch, he going crazy in themselves. You ain't safe out here, you more safer in them jails. And he a scorekeeper, how you know, bro, I can tell. Our guns been ranked, bitch, up in the bed. That rap camp, nigga, when you ever slide. Got the Lolo from this little eyes that be up on they side, I'm trying to play they block.
Her she wanna fuck with the cameras cause they treat her bad. Bad for the job, ain't shit to buy a bitch bad. I don't even want the bitch no more, you can have a bad.
That nigga broke his shit, he can't even get an nails done. Show that bitch some dog shit, she put her hair inside the point, see on her.
2022 started off strong on a music tip for YBC. As I started to explain in part 1, YBC had a strong showing musically in 2021, and 2022 would be no different. In January, F5 and YBC Duel released the videos Still Alive and Oh No, which are two of the more recognizable YBC type videos with masks, sunglasses, and guns. Lots of guns. YBC was starting to realize that dissing the dead and naming names was how they was going to get noticed. Combine that with everything that was going on in the streets, and YBC found their pocket, and they were going to ride this wave no matter the consequences. Maybe they see this as the only real legitimate opportunity they have in life, is the music. All they've known the last couple of years is these street wars and murders, so why not rap about it and make money? While I look at the big picture and see how destructive this is, when you're caught up in it, you don't realize how crazy this all looks to the rest of society. YBC kept dropping music, and in February of 2022, with the videos Best Pack, YBC Duel dropped Spin Again with Yak Yola. If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out more than you know. 2022 will continue to see the success of YBC with the music. No Get Back, Op Shopping, and Murder Suit are all songs that hit well over 100,000 views, with No Get Back getting over 800,000. I say all that to say, even though I think it's probably a good thing if drill music went away completely, there are plenty of people who like it and listen to it. So it's not only relevant to talk about, but breaking down why these gang wars are happening is part of the solution on how to fix it. The gravy train for YBC was about to fall apart as the inevitable consequences for everything we've talked about to this point, all the killing, trolling, and dissing, was about to happen. BK was one of the original members of YBC, always around. In fact, Baby Kai, or BK, was in YBC videos as far back as 2018. He rapped sometimes, but mostly was a trapper and was worried about getting money. BK would trap out of his car and do drop-offs, which is how he was followed by CCK members. when BK parked his car on the 1200 block of South 57th Street just before 8:30 p.m. on May 12, 2022. Two gunmen approached his 2020 blue Honda and fired at least 30 shots, several striking and killing BK. Baby Kai was a beloved member of YBC.
Philadelphia police responding to the 1200 block of South 57th Street. It was just before 8:30 tonight. They say they found a 19-year-old man shot multiple times inside his car. He was pronounced dead minutes later. Investigators say two men approached the victim's car and opened fire. At least 29 shell casings were found at that scene.
So clearly, this was a targeted shooting and an execution-style killing.
The suspects are still on the run. Police continue to investigate.
Baby Kai was a beloved member of YBC, and the loss of BK will mark the beginning of a disastrous 2022 for the group. Here's a picture I showed in part 1. As you can see, BK is standing right next to Lil Bucks in one mirror. With YBC Duel and BK's best friend, T.O., in the back. It's ode to the four members, YBC, The Pit, D4M, and others. This picture was an attempt at peace for all sides involved. I believe this picture was taken in 2018 or 2019. This truce lasted about 2 weeks before the bullshit started back up. If only they would have stuck to the truce, so many people in this picture would still be here. Let's be real though, not even the people here believe that this would last. BK died, and of course, CCK, who claimed this, will go on to diss BK heavily.
Only if BK had this joint, he would have seen them niggas. He would have seen them niggas running up where he tore his will the fuck up. No bullshit. Both sides. Like he'd have been able to see both of the shooters, but he didn't. So you see what?
Sometimes I mix with BK, I don't want to burn the in my verse. BK tried to start the car, the king fit. It wasn't working. It's crazy how that bean turned BK to a doja. In the video, I'm smoking BK and we run.
BK ain't have a chance. Should've started that welfare. Smoking BK, BL, smoking.
I'm smoking BK with my bitches, crazy how we died. With 25 shots in the car, yeah, he got overfried. Well, that blue Honda could start, they left the driver stretched across the pavement.
BK got cooked in the wheel, they left the seat recline.
Kier was F5's good friend. F5 started bringing Kier around the guys, and Kier was a wreck chaser. F5 loved bringing Kier with him on drills, and they started to become a duo. 30, 1K, and Reek were also the main shooters back then. 30 also liked how ready to go Kier was and started to promote him as a shooter within the gang.
Fire in Mantua this morning, chasing down their victims before driving off. 4 people were injured on the very same block where 2 people were killed just last night.
Kier and the brother of a YBC member got into a heated argument on the afternoon of Friday, June 17, 2022. The day would start out celebrating the birthday of BK. Baby Kai was killed a month before, and YBC was honoring him that day. But by 1 o'clock that afternoon, the mood had completely changed. Kier was dropped off on Brooklyn Street in West Philadelphia by a 38th Street member. Just so there's no confusion, 38th Street has a lot of people cool with YBC, even though YBC is at war with 39th Street. Kier is one of those people. After Kier was dropped off on Brooklyn Street by a 38th Street member, he got into a heated argument with Mayor Pablo's brother. This argument turned into a tussle and a full-on fight. Kier was apparently shot during the scuffle. 1 bullet hit his chest. Mayor Pablo's brother was not a part of YBC. He had nothing to do with them except being a brother of one of the members. On Friday, June 17, 2022, at 1:12 p.m., Philadelphia police officers responded to the 600 block of Brooklyn Street and located Nakir Sylvester suffering from a gunshot wound. Nakir was transported to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where he died that afternoon. Nakir Sylvester was 19 years old. He resided on North 40th Street. This obviously put a strain on the gang, as Kier died essentially from friendly fire. Mirpod would go on to talk about this situation in a song.
I be having crazy thoughts like how my brother killed my homie.
Even though Kier wasn't killed by any of the ops, he wasn't spared the dissing and trolling.
Smoking BK, BL, care plus I got Joker. Wonder why I care and care to have a gun on him. It's 2022, you see a op, you can't punch on him. He lost that fight cause a bullet had swung on him.
In the midst of all this chaos, YBC would try to salvage his name by spinning on 39th Street. The infamous video of 3 masked men walking down the street looking for someone to make a victim, only to themselves be victimized by 39th Street, who had the drop that YBC was going to spin that night. YBC ended up getting shot at. Eames Stacks was hit and left critically injured. Luckily, the cops were able to get him to the hospital, where his life was spared. However, he was left with life-changing injuries. His left arm is very immobile, it appears. This is speculation on my part, but he may never be able to use his left arm the same way anymore.
Hurry up. You dumbass. What's wrong with you? That's Eve, dumbass.
It's crazy Halloween movie ended with a stroller. It's down to 3. He like I'm shot. Why y'all leave him out to bleed?
Shoot for said and we been that block for Q-Raw. Last time they been through the 9, they man got laid flag. Last time they been through the mine, my nigga shot bad. Took a penny smack with a rag. Slid in that murder suit, made us dumbass collab. When they pull a plug, I'ma be the one buying the rag.
Fetty, the cousin of YBC Duel, was another person who really wasn't a rapper. He got money and helped Duel with his weed business. Fetty helped to organize Duel's rap career. Can be seen in numerous YBC videos. He was out and about on a hot day in June of 2022. Damien Grant, or Fetty, was murdered on Saturday, June 25th, 2022. At 12:52 p.m., Philadelphia police officers responded to the 500 block of West Bristol Street and found Damien suffering from several gunshot wounds to his body. Philadelphia police placed Damien in a patrol vehicle and transported him to Temple University Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased. At 1:02 p.m.
Are investigating a fatal shooting in Hunting Park. Officials say a man was shot multiple times just before 1 this afternoon in the area of North 5th and Bristol Streets. He was rushed to Temple, where he died. No arrests have been made.
That news report right there is an excellent example of why I started my YouTube channel. The description of Damien's murder was so generic and without context, it means nothing to the viewer except another black man killed in the city of Philadelphia. And to me, these guys are more than that. I completely reject their way of life, but their life deserves more than a 10-second news clip. Unfortunately, CCK, YBC, and every other rap group I talk about don't feel the same way about life as most of society. In these circles, life is not valued, and in many cases, not even their own. There is a picture of him laid out in the streets, and he had on black boots. Every time you hear CCK refer to boots or black Timbs, they are dissing YBC Duel's cousin, Fetty. Was killed only a month after BK. This had a devastating and demoralizing effect on YBC, and of course the dissing didn't help.
Smoke Fetty in my verse, we caught him walking in the boots like where the fuck you tryna go?
I can't go out like no Vic, we get up close as one-on-one.
When they did his cousin in them boots, that nigga cried.
By the summer of 2022, the war between YBC and CCK was at a boiling point, and the city was bearing the brunt of it. Shootings, jail stabbings, public fights, murders, you name it, YBC and CCK went through it. Hundo, or J100, was a big YBC member. He was vital to the arrangement of things in the group, and he was basically the manager. He was there from the start and basically the glue. And honestly, he was probably the best rapper out of all of them. It is said that J100 was either on his way to or leaving a video shoot when they caught him. Tajay Brooks, or J100, was struck by gunfire on Monday, December 5th, 2022. At 9:20 p.m., Philadelphia police officers responded to the 4300 block of Paris Street and found Tajay, or J100, lying in the street. He was suffering from several gunshot wounds. Jay was transported to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where he was pronounced deceased. His friends called him Hondo, and he was a major loss for YBC. After he died, the ops dragged his name through the mud.
So I smoke him every 3 days.
What it look like?
Astronaut going like this.
Fucked up. Hey, in a fucking body and shit too long. I'm counting on our toes. Feel me? Annual J World Day. You feel me? Long live. You want smoke, nigga? Smoke today. Feel me? You got gas out, nigga. BK runts, J runts, nigga. Y'all talking about, nigga. Check the score. Chaz. Yo, listen. If you don't get high today. Cause we smoking on a pound of that BK and that little J, no cap. Ah! Disrespectful, you the reason for them GoFundMes. We the reason why your block can't make no money. This Hondo pack it hard as shit. She
they ain't on they block, they got us posted on their side. Told them put it on Hondo and run that nigga live.
It's fucked up, Holla J died when he walked out the crib. Them hollows rearranged his flesh, they overtapped his head.
Hondo got cooked so bad, he made my bitch feel it. You still in the booth for all them fucking dead homies. We the ones that cracked that rapper head. We gon' stand doing that.
I got that drop, so I had
they ride for us, nigga heard them steps, turned around and got his taco touch, he would've lived.
Hondo got cooked, I told my bitch to come smoke with me.
Reek 1200 and 1K were both found guilty in the murders of Nasir Marks and Kanye Pittman in May of 2023. Baby Wick was found not guilty in his murder case, but guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. A lot of confusion usually surrounds what conspiracy to murder means, especially since it's quite rare to be charged with a crime by association. The details can be complex, But even indirect involvement could lead to conspiracy charges. All it really takes is for one of the conspirators to get arrested, and everyone who planned or participated in carrying out the crime will probably be charged. Baby Wick will most likely get a hefty sentence. Curry was arrested in September of 2021 at the scene of Sid's murder. He is fighting 2 bodies right now. His next court date is in November. So many more members of YBC are locked up right now, like FS the Bender, Zombie, Eam Stacks, F5, Waters, and so many more. The string of horrible luck will continue for YBC. BK's best friend was shot, and the news quickly spread around social media, which is how some friends and family found out what happened to T.O. As I said before, T.O. and BK were very close. On Tuesday, May 16, 2023, at 9:50 p.m., Philadelphia police officers responded to the scene and found Kamir Scott suffering from multiple gunshot wounds throughout his body. The officers placed Kamir, or T.O., in their patrol vehicle and rushed him to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, where he died from his wounds. T.O. was 20 years old and he resided on North Vide Street. Before I end, I have to talk about the click-ups that make this whole thing seem like it's never going to end. When a set like YBC and PNB click up, it makes things way more complicated and way more messy. I don't want this to get too crazy trying to explain it, so I'll try to keep it simple. PNB is a set from Uptown. This is where PNB Rock is from, Pastorius and Baton. But this is the next little age bracket of people. Rock was in his late 20s when he died. How about Blick, who's the face of PNB these days? Can't be more than 20 years old. PNB clicked up with YBC to do scams and money shit at first in late 2021. But as the music and murders started to take off, the lines blurred, and soon they were appearing in each other's music videos and dissing each other's ops. This click up has made the violence potentially that much worse. How about Blake is probably going to get his own video from me, because that's a wild young boy. He's on a run right now for a murder that made headlines. To sum up this story, YBC to this day has beef with about 9 or 10 blocks and hoods in Philly. That isn't sustainable. YBC dude is out Cali a lot. Maybe he's moving over there, because as anyone could see, you're not going to last long in Philadelphia if you are up to any of this bullshit. Dole has said on camera that he's lost 19 people to the streets. The reason we just went on that dark and extremely grim story wasn't to glorify or in any way to condone what I just showed you. It's the brutal, honest reality of what's going on in some of the neighborhoods of Philadelphia. Just like countless cities and towns across America, Philadelphia has a horrible gun violence problem. It's not going to get any better until the world sees this for what it is. As I mentioned earlier in the video, these young men are dying for nothing. Absolutely nothing. J100, the quote-unquote biggest name in YBC, didn't even have his death covered on the news. Philadelphia continues to be a mirror up to America and what's lying underneath all the surface level pop culture bullcrap that most people are caught up in. If these issues continue to be ignored, it's going to keep getting worse. Until next time, y'all be safe.